I never thought love could be a trap. A well-crafted illusion that leaves you drowning, gasping for air, while the person you trusted the most watches you suffer with indifference. For 5 years, Ethan was my everything. My best friend, my lover, my home. We built a life together, one filled with whispered dreams, late-night laughter, and promises that felt unbreakable. But real love isn't supposed to have conditions, right? I learned the hard way that I was just a placeholder. A convenient option. A warm body to keep the bed from feeling cold while his heart still belonged to someone else. The night everything shattered started like any other. A cozy dinner at home, wine glasses half full, his smile reassuring me that we were solid, that our future was intact. And then, his phone rang. I wouldn't have paid attention. Ethan got calls all the time, but the way his face changed made my stomach tighten. He stiffened, glanced at me, then declined the call without a word. I didn't ask. I should have, because an hour later, as he stood in our bedroom packing a bag with shaking hands, he finally told me. "I have to go," he said, voice uneven. My heart pounded. Go where? What's wrong? His eyes, once so full of love, held something else now built. "My mom is sick," he whispered. "I need to be with her, and I think we should take a break." A break. That was the moment my world cracked. But what I didn't know was that this wasn't about his mother at all. This was about her. Ethan and I weren't just lovers. We were best friends before anything else. That's what made it hurt more, knowing that I wasn't just losing my partner, but the person who had been my safe space for years. We met in the most unexpected way, during a rainstorm that had stranded both of us under the same cafe awning. I was drenched, cursing myself for not checking the weather forecast, when he offered me his jacket with a lopsided grin. "Looks like the universe wanted us to meet," he had joked. I laughed at his audacity, but something about him was warm, familiar, like I had known him in another life. We sat inside, sipping hot coffee, talking about everything and nothing. That's how it began. From that moment on, Ethan was a constant in my life. Our connection was effortless, the kind of love people wrote songs about. We had our inside jokes, our silly traditions like ordering pizza at 2 a.m. after binge-watching old sitcoms, or leaving sticky notes around the apartment with little messages. "You look beautiful even when you're mad. Don't forget to eat today. I love you. One day, I'm going to marry you. Just wait and see." For 5 years, we built something real. At least, I thought it was real. Ethan had always been a mama's boy. I never minded it. His mother, Eleanor, was a widow, and Ethan had taken on the role of her protector from a young age. She was sweet, polite, always perfectly put together in an old money kind of way. But there was always something off. At first I thought it was just overprotectiveness. She'd constantly remind Ethan to visit her, call her, prioritize her needs over everything else. She made subtle comments about how I'd never understand him the way she did, how first loves are irreplaceable. I brushed it off. Because at the end of the day, Ethan chose me. Or so I believed. Then there was her Samantha. The first love. The ex who, according to Ethan, had left him shattered years ago. The one who got away. She was my past, he had assured me. You're my future. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But some loves don't stay in the past. Some linger, waiting for the perfect moment to resurface. And I was about to find out just how deep Samantha's hold on Ethan really was. Ethan's words echoed in my head long after he left that night. "My mom is sick. I need to be with her. And I think we should take a break." A break. We had never taken a break before. We had fights. Sure, big ones. Stupid ones. The kind that ended with slammed doors and hours of silence. But we always found our way back to each other. This felt different. Final. I sat alone in our apartment, staring at the half-packed suitcase he had abandoned by the door. Something didn't feel right. Ethan wasn't the type to run. No matter what happened, he always talked things through. If his mom was sick, why hadn't she called me? Why hadn't she mentioned anything when we last spoke just 2 days ago? I tried to shake off the unease, convincing myself I was overthinking. But then his phone buzzed on the nightstand. I wasn't a snooper. I had never been that kind of girlfriend. But something about the way he had left, the guilt in his eyes, made my fingers move before I could stop myself. The screen lit up with a name that made my stomach drop. Samantha. I'm here. Room 214. I can't wait to see you. The air left my lungs. I stared at the message, willing it to change, to mean something else. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe I was imagining things. But deep down, I knew. Ethan hadn't gone to see his mother. He had gone to see her. My heart pounded as I stood up, grabbing my keys with shaky hands. I needed answers. 15 minutes later, I found myself standing in the dimly lit hallway of a hotel, staring at the brass numbers on a door that felt like a death sentence. 214. My hand hovered over the door, my breath shallow. And then, before I could stop myself, I knocked. The door swung open. And there he was. Ethan. Standing inside the room. With Samantha. His face drained of color the moment he saw me. But before he could say a word, she stepped beside him, wearing nothing but a shirt, her smirk sending ice through my veins. And that's what I knew this wasn't a mistake. This was a betrayal. I couldn't breathe. My mind refused to process what I was seeing Ethan standing there, his shirt draped over Samantha's shoulders, his face frozen in shock, guilt, maybe even regret. But regret didn't erase the truth. Regret didn't change the fact that he had left me for this. For her. Samantha leaned against the doorframe like she belonged there, arms crossed over her chest, eyes gleaming with quiet satisfaction. She didn't even have the decency to look surprised. I felt my nails digging into my palms, the sharp sting grounding me in the moment. Ethan was the first to speak. It's not what it looks like. I almost laughed. The words were so cliché, so absurdly predictable, that for a second, I thought I was dreaming. Not what it looked like? It looked like the man I loved had lied to my face. It looked like he had used his mother's name his mother's, an excuse to sneak off and play house with the woman he once swore was his past. My voice came out quieter than I intended. Then tell me, Ethan, what exactly does this look like? He ran a hand through his hair, eyes darting between me and Samantha, as if searching for the right words. As if anything he said could fix this. Samantha scoffed, rolling her eyes. Oh, come on. Don't make this dramatic. You had to see this coming. Her voice. That smug, sickly sweet voice. It sent something hot and venomous rushing through my veins. Had to see this coming. I turned to Ethan, my voice trembling. Is that true? Did you always know this was going to happen? He didn't answer. He just stood there. Silent. A coward. A part of me wanted to scream, to throw something, to demand that he fight for me. But another part, the part that was breaking, the part that had already started grieving, knew that silence was his answer. Because if he truly loved me, if I really meant something, he wouldn't have been here in the first place. I swallowed the lump in my throat. So, what was I? A placeholder? A distraction until you figured things out with her? Ethan finally spoke, but his voice was barely a whisper. It's not like that. Then, what is it like? My voice cracked, and I hated myself for it. Hated that he could still make me weak. Because from where I'm standing, it sure as hell looks like I was just an obstacle in whatever this thing between you two is. Samantha smirked. You were always temporary. I snapped my gaze toward her, and for a second, I swore I saw satisfaction in her eyes. Like she had been waiting for this moment, enjoying the pain she was causing. And Ethan? He didn't defend me. He didn't tell her to stop. He didn't tell me she was wrong. That was all I needed to know. I felt the tears burning behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of them. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay steady. You know what, Ethan? I'm done. His head snapped up. Wait, no. I cut him off, shaking my head. You made your choice, and now I'm making mine. I turned on my heels, my legs unsteady but my resolve stronger than it had ever been. I walked away. And for the first time in years, Ethan didn't follow me. I should have felt relief. I had walked away with my dignity intact, refusing to beg for an explanation that Ethan wasn't even willing to give. But that night, as I sat alone in my apartment, now the weight of everything came crashing down. The silence was suffocating. The absence of him, of the life we had built, was like a ghost haunting every corner. I wanted to believe it was over, that I had freed myself from the worst of it. But the universe wasn't done with me yet. The next morning, I woke up to a message from an unknown number. You deserve to know the truth. Meet me at the little cafe on 5th at noon. No name. No explanation. My fingers hovered over the screen. Was this a joke? A trap? A part of me wanted to ignore it, but something deep inside whispered that this wasn't random. I needed answers. At exactly noon, I walked into the cafe, my pulse hammering in my ears. And then I saw her. Ethan's mother. Eleanor sat in the corner, perfectly poised, a cup of tea in front of her. She looked up when I approached, her expression unreadable. My stomach twisted. She'd always been polite, distant in a way that felt more like calculated restraint than genuine warmth. But now, something about her gaze unsettled me. I sat across from her, crossing my arms. What do you want? She exhaled, stirring her tea absent-mindedly. I assume you know about Samantha by now. The mention of her name sent a fresh wave of pain through me. I clenched my jaw. If you're here to defend Ethan, don't bother. Eleanor gave a small, humorless smile. Oh, darling. I'm not here to defend him. I'm here to tell you what really happened. I frowned. What do you mean? She leaned in slightly, her voice quiet but firm. Ethan and Samantha never accidentally reconnected. This was planned, from the start. My breath caught. What? She sighed, looking almost regretful. I told Ethan to break up with you. The world tilted. I gripped the table, my nails digging into the wood. You what? Eleanor didn't flinch. Ethan and Samantha were always meant to be together. You were a distraction, a phase. I knew he wouldn't leave you on his own, so I helped him. I felt like I was drowning. Helped him how? She tilted her head, eyes sharp. By giving him a reason. The words slammed into me like a freight train. His mother's sickness. A lie. I had spent the past 2 days mourning a love that had never even been real, while Ethan had run straight into the arms of a woman he had never let go of. Bile rose in my throat. So all of this, his dramatic exit, the fake concern, the break was just an act? Eleanor took a slow sip of her tea. You were never supposed to find out. I let out a shaky laugh, my hands trembling. And you're just telling me this now? Why? She placed her cup down gently, her gaze unblinking. Because I need you to stay away. My blood ran cold. She leaned in, voice lower now. Ethan may not be strong enough to make a clean break, but I am. Whatever foolish hope you're holding on to, let it go. Something inside me snapped. I stood abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. The people around us turned to look, but I didn't care. I stared at Eleanor, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. You can have your son back. You can have your perfect little story with Samantha. But one day, Ethan is going to realize exactly what he lost. Eleanor's lips curled into something resembling a smile. Maybe. But by then, it will be too late. I turned and walked away. This time, I wasn't just leaving Ethan. I was leaving all of them. I stormed out of the cafe, my heart hammering against my ribs, my mind spinning. Every moment with Ethan, every whispered promise, every I love you it, had all been a carefully orchestrated illusion. A game played by a man too weak to leave me on his own, and a mother who had decided I wasn't good enough for her son. Rage burned through me like wildfire, but underneath it, there was something else. I wasn't just furious. I was done. For 2 days, I had let Ethan get away with this. I had walked away quietly, like some heartbroken, helpless woman who had lost the love of her life. But he wasn't the love of my life. He was a coward. And I wasn't leaving this unfinished. With a renewed sense of determination, I grabbed my phone and dialed Ethan's number. He picked up on the second ring. "Hey." His voice was cautious, uncertain, like he wasn't sure if he had the right to still sound familiar. I swallowed the lump in my throat. "We need to talk." A pause. "Now? Yes. I'll be at your place in 10 minutes. Another pause. I hung up before he could make an excuse. I didn't want his excuses. I wanted the truth. The drive to Ethan's apartment felt like a blur. Every muscle in my body was tense, every breath shallow. By the time I reached his building, I had run through every possible scenario. Maybe he'd try to apologize. Maybe he'd lie again. Maybe he'd finally admit what he had done. I stepped out of my car and walked up to his door. Before I could knock, it swung open. Ethan stood there, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His hair was disheveled, his eyes tired. He looked guilty. But guilt wasn't enough. He stepped aside, letting me in without a word. The air inside was heavy, suffocating. I turned to him, my arms crossed. "Tell me the truth, Ethan." He hesitated. All of it. My voice was sharp, unwavering. "No more lies. No more excuses. No more your mom told me to do it bullshit. Just tell me. Did you ever love me?" His face crumpled, and for the first time, I saw something real in his expression pain. "I did." His voice was hoarse. "I still do." I let out a bitter laugh. "You don't do this to someone you love, Ethan. You don't lie to them. You don't humiliate them." His hands curled into fists. "I never wanted to hurt you, but you did." My voice broke, but I refused to look away. "You made me believe we had something real while you were still in love with her." His jaw clenched. "It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" I demanded. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you used me until Mommy Dearest and your ex decided it was time to bring you back home." Ethan flinched. "It wasn't I met your mother today," I interrupted, watching his eyes widen. "She told me everything, that you never planned on staying with me, that she was the one who pushed you to leave." Silence. And then she was right. The words were quiet, but they hit like a gunshot. I stumbled back as if he had physically struck me, my hands trembling. He didn't even try to soften the blow. "She told me you wouldn't understand," he continued, his voice flat, emotionless now. "That I'd have to make you hate me. That you deserve someone who wouldn't hold on to the past the way I have." I felt sick. "So, what? You just went along with it?" My voice was barely above a whisper. "You threw away 5 years like they meant nothing?" His throat bobbed. "I didn't want to lie to you, but you did." My eyes burned. "You lied to me every single day we were together. And the worst part? You never even gave me a choice." His silence was all the confirmation I needed. I exhaled slowly, pressing a hand to my chest, trying to steady the ache threatening to consume me. "You know what hurts the most, Ethan?" He looked up. "I would have let you go." His breath hitched. "If you had just told me the truth," I whispered. "If you had been honest, if you had come to me and said you still had feelings for her, I would have been devastated, but I wouldn't have stopped you. I wouldn't have begged you to stay." Tears welled in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "But instead, you made me the fool." Ethan's face twisted in anguish, but I didn't care anymore. I had nothing left to give. I turned toward the door. He reached for me. "Wait." I stepped back. "No." My voice was quiet, but it carried all the weight of my broken heart. "You don't get to touch me. You don't get to want me now." Ethan's expression crumbled. I swallowed hard, steeling myself. I hoped she was worth it. And then, before he could say another word, I walked out. For the last time. I didn't cry as I walked out of Ethan's apartment. Not this time. The pain was there, a dull ache in my chest, but it wasn't the unbearable kind anymore. It wasn't the kind that made me want to scream into my pillow or crawl back into bed and pretend none of this had happened. No, this pain felt different. It felt like acceptance. I had spent 5 years loving a man who never truly chose me. A man who had always been standing at the edge of our relationship, waiting for someone to pull him back. And the worst part? I had never seen it. I had believed in him, believed in us. But now, standing outside his apartment, feeling the cold wind against my skin, I realized something. I had lost him long before today. Maybe I had never really had him at all. I went home that night and did something I never thought I'd be able to do. I packed everything that reminded me of Ethan. The framed photos, the little love notes he had left for me over the years, the gifts, the clothes he had left behind all of it. I put everything into a box and placed it by the door. Tomorrow, I would donate it. No dramatic burning session. No revenge plot. No angry texts. Just a letting go. I curled up on my couch, wrapping myself in a blanket, and stared at the ceiling. For the first time in days, my phone was silent. No calls, no messages, and I liked it that way. The next few weeks were hard. People asked questions. Friends sent messages. Some wanted the details. Others just wanted to check in. I kept it simple. We broke up. No one needed to know the full story. And as much as I wanted to expose Ethan for the liar he was, I knew it wouldn't change anything. He had made his choice. I had made mine. Still, the universe had a funny way of bringing things full circle. 3 weeks later, I was at the grocery store, staring blankly at the cereal aisle, when I heard someone call my name. I turned, and there she was. Samantha. The woman Ethan had left me for. For a moment, neither of us spoke. She looked nervous. I wasn't sure what I had expected. Maybe arrogance, maybe smugness. But instead, she looked almost hesitant. "Hey," she said finally, shifting awkwardly. I raised an eyebrow. "Hey." An uncomfortable silence settled between us. Then, she sighed. "I know you probably don't want to hear this, but I never wanted things to happen this way." I let out a small laugh, shaking my head. "Then maybe you shouldn't have taken back a man who was already in a relationship." She flinched. "I know, you don't get to do this." My voice was calm, steady. "You don't get to try and make yourself feel better by apologizing now." Samantha looked down. I know he hurt you." I tilted my head. "And? Did he hurt you too?" Her silence was the only answer I needed. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. Because I knew how Ethan worked. I had spent years believing I was the love of his life, only to find out I was just another chapter in his story. And now, it was her turn. I stepped closer, my voice soft. "Do you want my advice?" She hesitated, then nodded. I smiled. "Run." Her eyes widened. I didn't wait for a response. I grabbed my box of cereal, turned around, and walked away. For the first time in weeks, I felt free. Because the truth was, Ethan had never really broken me. He had just shown me exactly what I didn't want. And now,